In this lesson, we'll take a look at how we can start to transform our geometry. So by transform our geometry, I mean, let's say that we want to move it, rotate it, or scale it in our 3D view. So here we have a couple of objects here from our last lesson, and let's say that we now want to start to move these objects around in 3D space. Well, the first thing that we want to do is to actually select the object. So right now you can see that we have an object selected because we have the selection bracket here. If I click off into our viewport, you can see that now nothing has been selected. So the first key step is to actually select our objects, and we can see that as we select those, the selection bracket comes on. If you want to turn that bracket off, you can just hit J on your keyboard and J again to toggle that back on. Okay, so now that we have our objects selected, now we need to actually decide how we want to transform our object. So let's say we want to move our object. Well, we can come up here and choose to select and move, which will turn on the move gizmo here. Or if we go ahead and hit Q to go back to selection, we can actually hit W on our keyboard, and that will do the same thing. So W will activate move, E will activate rotate, and R, if I hit R, will activate scale. Okay, and so E and then W. So those are the hotkeys for our transforms. Now once we have move selected, we can now come in, and if we just click on the torus, you can see we can move that around. Okay, clicking also on the different axes will allow us to move those in a particular axis. In the Z axis, and you can see how that axis is highlighted. Also, you can see as I come over this plane here between the Z and the Y axis, it highlights. This will allow us to move it just on that particular plane. And if I go ahead and take a look in our 3D, our views, you can see how that is actually moving. Okay, we can come in here, and if we just want to move it along this plane, you can see it's not moving up and down in the front and left view. So that will allow you to isolate and just move it along the different axes that you want. Okay, and that's based on whichever one of these axes is highlighted. Okay, now when you're done moving, if we click off of our object here, we're still in move mode. So if I were to go ahead and select the circle, I can just click and drag that around. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Sometimes you can accidentally start moving things around when in reality you just want to select something. So when you're done moving, you can go ahead and just hit Q on your keyboard, and you'll go back to regular selection and won't have to worry about moving anything around. If we'd like to rotate, we'll go ahead and just go to rotate, and you can see we have another gizmo here. We can select the different axes here, go to our X axis, come around here, and rotate our object. Rotating in the middle, we can just rotate this sort of free form. Okay, if we want to rotate that and then we want to move it, we'll just hit W, move that up and over. Okay, and then if you want to do the same thing here, we can just use our combination of our keys to move that around, rotate it around, so forth. Scaling will work the same way, so we'll hit R on our keyboard, and here you can see that we have again a gizmo that looks a little bit different. So I can grab one of the axis handles and pull that out, and that'll scale that out. Okay, we can also just scale it in a particular plane, or we can scale it overall. And so you just go by how that particular portion of the gizmo is highlighted, and that will let you know how that's actually going to be transformed. Now, another thing that we can look at here is that if we go up to, let's say, our select and move, and we right click on this, this will give us some absolute world values for our move values here. So if I zero this out, we can move that back into position. If we go ahead and right click on our rotation, you can see that we have those values in here. We can zero those back out as well. If you want to take the sphere and sort of do the same thing, okay, you can zero that out as well. And again, for the scaling, this is going to be based on 100% instead of 0, and so you can change that. So that will allow you to zero all of your transform values back if you want to. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're transforming your geometry. Work with the hotkeys, the Q, W, E, R, T, and that will allow you to move and rotate and scale your different objects. Okay, and just remember you're going to be in that mode until you get out using the Q key to go back and now select geometry without accidentally moving it. So definitely something to keep in mind. Okay, so now that we can create geometry and we can transform geometry, let's next look at different ways of viewing our geometry. So there are some different filters and things that we can use to view our geometry differently here in our 3D views, and we'll take a look at those in the next lesson.